And from David Smalls, JAX 60 lanes in Jackson, Michigan. This is the PBA60, David Smalls JAX 60 National Championship in memory of Mel Wolf. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Jackson, Michigan. And I'm Phil Brylo. This is Tom Carter.
Same old guy.
We've had a heck of a shootout with these PBA60 players all week long. A lane pattern that was conducive to high scores.
Unbelievably high scores.
But we shouldn't be surprised that we still have a couple of Hall of Famers on this show.
There's no shock at all. We've got an interesting lineup, to say the least, I think, tonight, starting out with Mike Diaz. So I think kind of a cool fact. You always hear about gold-level coaches coaching. We actually have Mike Diaz, gold-level coach, on the show, but he has won 3 times on the PBA50 and a PBA60 title, going against the ever-ready Bunny. His 6th show in a row, PBA Hall of Famer, Ron Mohr. After that, a new guy. I like the new guys. The new guy on the block, a new lefty on the block, Jerry Sikora, past Team USA member. That match goes on to see Harry Sullins, his 2nd show this year, and the title match going on to a unbelievably red-hot hand by Brian Voss, 25-time titleist.
Yeah, Voss made a great climb after a struggle in the opening 7-game qualifying round. Really came on in round 2 and then really tore his way through match play. Nobody could touch him by position round. He pretty much had that once he locked up right then.
He shot that 300, and it was all over, said and done.
So we are getting ready for that opening match between Mohr and Diaz. Let's get out to the lanes and see John Weber getting them underway. And after a fresh set of pins, Ron Mohr, the 4-seed, had lane choice. He opts to have Mike Diaz start the match on the left lane. And once again, a fresh application of this 42-foot Chris Paul pattern ready for these players to take on, and the scores have been high all week because of the pattern.
Well, the pattern allows the guys to actually almost play their favorite shot. You hate to use the term house shot, but it's a lot like that. We got friction to the outside, and you got plenty of oil in the middle. Should have some hold, and the guys that were down and in were absolutely fantastic this week.
It's going to be pretty interesting to see because we were on a 42-foot pattern in the PBA50 event. Now another 42-foot pattern, but this, as you said, much more oil in the middle. The different lines Ron Mohr is playing between that step ladder and this step ladder.
Well, the volume of oil is one thing, but what we've done is the ratio. Normally, we've been bowling on stuff that's 2.7 to 1, maybe 3 to 1, and this week it's 8 to 1. So that build-up in the middle makes a big difference. If you miss in, the ball wiggles down lane, and it doesn't want to make the turn. Then if you get it out too quick, it just duck hooks on you and right back through the nose.
It's almost the exact opposite of what you guys see all year out here. And it's got to be hard to trick your brain and your eyes the right way sometimes.
Well, for some of the guys, and we had what a great pickup, that 4.9. Well, you know, we had new faces in the top 24, which is good for the tour, you know.
And that great cover of the 4.9, let's take an extra look at it from Ron Mohr. You just see how very straight that ball went going through the middle part of the lane, all that oil that's there, and just that little duck hook at the end, enough to get the 4 to slide into.
There is plenty of oil, and guys that shot cross lane, for the most part, a lot of them realize that going for 4s, 7s, 6s, and 10s, that ball kind of hydroplaned to the right, and if you didn't get it there, you know, you miss it to the left, kind of messed with your mind a little bit.
Ron's the only player in PBA60 history to have more than one title. He'll be our defending champion when we take to the lanes in Fort Wayne beginning on Wednesday here on FloBowling. And he's trying to use that oil in the middle to his advantage, where the other night we saw him try to use the dry on the outside to his advantage.
I believe he's trying to use that hole there, that right up there around 3rd arrow, and just bump it out to like 8 down lane and just let the ball migrate to the pocket, not trying to overhook it, because the more up the back of the ball you were, the better off you were.
So Diaz is going to step up on the double. Diaz took down the 2018 USBC Super Senior Classic. And, of course, earlier this year on the PBA 50 Tour, he took down the title, took out Hall of Famer Parker Moen III in the championship match in Brentwood at the Northern California Classic.
Well, Mike's got just a classic style, just really smooth to the line. He doesn't overthrow the ball. He's just really up the back of it. He's got a kind of unique role because you never really see the ball really pick up a big rev until about right there at about 35, 40 feet. Then the ball really gets into a heavy roll.
But once again, these players want the ball to start its roll in the pattern, even though it's 42 feet in length. They don't want that ball getting past the end of the pattern and all of a sudden starting to make that hockey stick look to the pocket.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Mike throwing, I think that's an astrophysics. It's an asymmetrical ball, pin way up. And you would think it'd pick up a roll a little bit sooner, but Mike's got that unique release. He can get that ball to kind of what we call stall before it really picks up a roll going down lane.
And never easy when you have that sleeper 8-pin back there for the left-handers with the 2, 4, and 8, but he gets the cover made.
Well, I mentioned in when we started that Mike being a goal level coach, a lot of goal level coaches are just out doing a lot of coaching, and some of them don't get the chance to bowl that much. And, you have an opportunity to watch a goal level coach, and you get to see why he is, because he's just got that classic style. I mean, if he was a little taller, I'd give it the Dave Davis type style, really smooth to the line.
So 3 PBA regional titles in Diaz's career to go 3 PBA60 regional titles. And looking to repeat a strike on this left lane. And he's playing the lanes a bit different, or was that maybe that was a miss?
That was missed left.
Okay.
He got that out too far, and with that delayed roll that he has, just didn't have enough time to pick up on the back end.
Yeah, watch that ball on the
You see, when it started rolling, it was a little bit too late to make that turn.
And it turned so hard that it just kind of looked like it went end over end.
Well, like it hooked and stopped.
Yeah.
It made one motion.
I mean, that's a roll we're used to seeing out of his opponent, Ron Mohr. That's not a roll I'm used to seeing out of Mike Diaz.
Ron is famous for that hook stop that he create.
And got to get through that puddle to get to that 9-pin. He does so successfully. How does it change? I mean, how does it change your spare shooting week in and week out here on the 52 to all of a sudden go, oh, geez, I got this huge puddle in the middle. What do I do now?
That's probably one of the hardest things, because you got to try to counteract it. How much is the ball going to hook? Some of the guys throwing spare balls, you got to decide if you're going to throw your spare ball. Is there too much oil and the ball won't get there? But if you're dead on line, kind of like Walter Ray, it doesn't really make a difference. But for guys that hook it, that puddle in the middle, I seen a couple of guys actually hook it there. In the left side, they hooked over towards 6-pin, and the ball never got there. Ron Mohr throwing a symmetrical ball, which is, I think he's throwing the only symmetrical ball on the show. Pin up. Mike wanted me to point out that he laid that out for him.
Third frame for Mohr, looking for the double. It's out to the right, back to the left, and the 6 does the job on the 10.
The one thing that you didn't see a lot of guys throw, and I don't think you're going to see it on the show, is that's a solid ball. So it's a real smooth reaction, even though it's pin up. And I believe all the guys coming up on the show, for the most part, are all throwing solids. So there's enough oil on the lane, and with that friction that we have to the right, you don't need any extra snap on the back end.
So there you see the statistic. His 11th career PBA60 title came a couple stops ago in Anderson at Dave Small's Championship Lanes.
Yeah, he's keeping Walter from getting his 15th title and breaking the record.
Looking for 3 in a row. That's a little right.
That's a little far down lane, and that was a common leave, which would have been the 7-10, and we've seen several of those. You get it just a little bit too far into the puddle, then you get it too far right. It hooks hard, and it quits. Not enough energy to drive through.
Yeah, that 6-pin just kind of fell and rocked and rolled near the flat gutter. No chance of getting the 10. And the cover for Mohr.
That ball was, we were talking about the oil in the middle. It was skidding to the right. You're like, I hope the lane's not more than 60 feet.
So the early lead of 11 pins for Mohr, with Diaz stepping up in frame 4.
This is a kind of unique situation, because this is the second tournament we've been to. I mean, everything, basically almost 3 tournaments where everything's brand new, new installation, new lanes.
Diaz was sitting in 3rd before the position round, had a rough game.
There's another. He got it too far to the left again. I think he's got to square that up a little bit, and that's what he's been doing, because he went on a rampage there for about 3 games, 250, 260, 260, and he kept leapfrogging to get up here to the show.
And once again, sure, this lane pattern is conducive to getting in the pocket much easier than you guys see week to week out here in the 52 tour. Problem is, you still have to get that ball to finish properly through the pocket to get all 10 down.
Yeah, you got to get it to carry. Hitting in the pocket on this pattern wasn't the issue. Is how do you knock 10 pins down after you hit the pocket? And the lanes went through some transition. In the beginning when they were freshly done, for some people they were easier when they were fresh, but as the pattern kind of, I don't want to say mellowed out, for some of us we call it being cliffed up. It got drier to the right, which made the puddle even seem more exaggerated in the middle. And if you miss left, you might not even hit the head pin, but if you got it right, it just duck hooked. So when they get cliffed up like that, and you'll see that a lot in house shots where they have so much oil in the middle, and it starts out maybe in practice in the first game it's good, and all of a sudden that oil to the outside just disappears, gets soaked up by the balls. Then they start hooking earlier. Then your first move is, well, I got to move left. When you move left into the puddle, then the ball don't come back, and you're going, I'm trapped.
Diaz, 5th frame. Much more direct towards the pocket. You see the difference in response. Bad break on that wrap 7, or just, once again, the energy on the ball not properly used?
I think it's the energy on the ball. Just, again, he's got that long skid, and the ball just is never getting high enough up into the pocket. Even though he's up the back of it, he might want to just add a little bit more juice to it, not for his ball speed, but increase his rev rate a little bit if he can, whether that be tucking his pinky, trying to get it to turn harder on the back end, or maybe switching balls, picking up something that's got a little more surface, to get that ball to pick up a little bit sooner.
Well, you mentioned that Diaz's ball had that really super high pin position. Something maybe that's lower
could be,
too?
Yeah, it could be a little bit too tall, getting a little bit too far down the lane.
And you see Mohr, one of the guys that still uses a towel out here. Not too many guys using towels anymore.
No, they're all using those chamois, those leather on one side or whatever they have on them, and they work great. They actually pull the oil right off the ball.
And you see the pin position on Mohr's ball. It looks like it was just above the fingers.
Yep, right above the ring finger. He said it's his favorite position. And a lot of guys out here, Walter does, Parker does, they got basically just a couple of layouts that they use, and that's what they use. They don't really get extravagant on layouts. They can trick up their wrist and ball speed enough to make the ball change directions.
Yeah, a huge game in the position round by Ron Mohr in his match against 5th place Johnny Petraglia to knock Petraglia out of the top 5.
And that was so sad for Johnny. I mean, granted, he's 72 years old, but 11 games today plus all the practice. I mean, for this whole tournament, just in a short period of time, yesterday and today, and well, the day before, 40 games he's bowled. And he was tournament leader for a long time. I think Johnny just kind of ran out of gas. Ball speed might have dropped a little bit. His carry just kind of went away. He won quite a bit of matches until the last set. And that is no good. In the last set, I don't think he went 6 games and didn't win a match that last set.
And it was like that all match play long, though. There were matches where if you shot 230, you were losing by 20 or 30 in some cases.
Bruce Hall told me he shot 258 and tied and picked up 6 pins on the people ahead of him.
Yeah. And that could hurt more because that count right now, just a single pin on a strike. Wow, I mean, if he gets 3 out of that, he's got 115 in the 6th instead of 111. He's looking at possibly being behind this match once Diaz steps up in the 6th and 7th.
Well, Mike's going to either change his angles or change balls. He's going to have to do something to get the ball to pick up a little bit sooner and create some back-end motion. He's got to get the ball to go through the pins.
Diaz, 6th frame.
That's out the door again.
And the turn and burn.
He's just getting it down lane way too far to the outside. It's literally looks like it's 2-3, 3-4 down lane, and it's just not making the turn. So he's either going to have to square it up or he's going to have to change balls. He doesn't have much of a choice because he's running out of frames.
Diaz on the week. Another one of these players that averaged over 230 for the week, 233.5 for Diaz for his 30 games of competition. Needs the hole.
Wow. I thought that ball might not start revving up enough to make the turn. It looks like he's going to the bag or going somewhere or a reset, or is the guy moving?
He's asking about something. I'm not sure if it's our photographer. I think it might be the other photographer. There may have been they may have a shutter going on that. So
Oh, no, he's going down.
No, yeah, there's a photographer behind our FloBowling cameraman, and there's a shutter on that camera. And so if Diaz gets to the line and they start taking a picture of the ball coming down in a downswing, you're going to hear the chit, and that could be enough to throw you off. I know we're trying to be as quiet as we can because we're probably 15 feet away from these guys as they're on the approach in the booth.
We're right behind them.
Yeah, so we are
trying to use our inside voice.
And I don't use it that often, as everybody knows. So
you learn to whisper in a helicopter.
yes, indeed. Diaz up 3 in the 7th. And that's a little farther to the right with the projection, and that one overhooks. He does not have much room out there.
Well, he started that up. I think right now, and if that's the only ball he used in practice on that pair, he probably doesn't have a good idea. He tried to go straighter, a little farther inside, but when the ball took off, he might be wanting to throw a pin down ball, something that's a little smoother on the back end. That pin up ball is going to try to jerk as soon as it hits the dry.
Now, we tell people it's an 8-to-1 ratio, but a lot of that is a big tongue and groove in the middle. It's not like all of a sudden just gradually across the lane it turns into 8-to-1. There's some dry boards and a big wall. And
imagine a top hat.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
Oh, wow.
Well, that would have got the 6-pin, I think, if it was standing.
Absolutely. Take an extra look at that. Thank goodness these are new pins here, thanks to Dave Small.
Well, with that oil in the middle, that ball just floated backwards.
Yep.
There's really no friction when you start the ball in the oil.
So Ron Mohr down by a pin, so that lost count he had last frame on the Greek Church not hurting him that bad at this moment. And 7th frame looking for the strike. That's farther out to the right, and he's got it working when it's coming in off that 3, 4, 5 board area.
Well, his ball speed's a little bit slower. He gives the ball a little bit more time. And for most of us, it looks like Ron just kind of hits up on the ball a little bit. He gets that ball started a little bit quicker, which is going to make it kind of hook set sooner. And if he can find that spot where that ball's going to hook and then set to the pocket, he's going to be tough to beat.
I know Ron's lovely wife, Lita, watching on. I don't know if she's back home yet in Vegas or if she's still in Alaska with family as she was waiting on their first grandchild. So, Lita, wherever you are, I know you're watching.
Ron's got the same setup procedure every time. He's looking down, gets set, looks up, and goes. And it's all about repeating the same process over and over and over again. You have to have a routine. I don't think he jumped out of that a little bit early, but he got the break. So
once that ball got to about 30 feet, you could just tell the reaction was different. Like, is it going to hold? And it does, and then he knew it was just going to set in.
It was like, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
It looked like he really jerked up on that ball. But, he got the breaks of the game.
Well, the foul line adjustment, as Dick Weber used to like to say, is a major part for a lot of professionals.
Well,
nobody throws 12 perfect shots in every game.
That was definitely an adjustment. I just don't know what it was, but it was an adjustment.
Diaz still has a maximum here, 222, but it's going to take a double in the 8th and 9th to really throw a little pressure back at his good friend Ron Mohr.
That looked like a much better shot. He didn't get it near as far out down lane. Didn't try to go quite as direct with it, just straight up the lane. Now, the key is if he needs to repeat that.
And just take an extra look. Yeah, that ball, not as far to the right as it was.
And it never got down to where he was playing at 2-3 down lane.
And the steely-eyed stare down.
Ooh. He's like snapping them off right there.
Oh, he slapped one out during position round at 4:57 p.m. It was beautiful. I've marked that on my calendar for eternity. It was
he never slaps them out.
It was a sweet slap out by Mike Diaz, no doubt about it. Here it is, foundation frame.
He needs this one for sure.
Yes, come on. You heard it. They might be friends off the lanes, but there is nothing but war and battle right now between these two.
They're roommates, travel partners, so they're definitely going to have something to talk about this match, no matter who wins on the way home back to Las Vegas, on the way to, Colorado, then to Vegas.
Yes. Well, of course, the PBA60 in Fort Wayne, that Dick Weber Championship coverage starts Wednesday here on FloBowling. We know we'll see both those guys there. We'll see you there, and we'll see almost everybody that was here in
I think we
Jackson.
have 105 entries?
There's quite a few there already, yeah. It's over 100.
Our last stop of this swing until the next April when we start up again.
And looking forward to a bigger and better PBA 50 tour in 2020.
Yeah, well, the PBA50s, we got some new names coming out. Well, they're not new to us, and they're probably not new to the people back home, but they're going to be new to the PBA50, and Jason Couch is one of them.
That reaction by Mohr there was yes, no, maybe yes, okay, and then it hit the pocket. He didn't trip the 4-pin, and he knows right now Diaz has ball in hand. Mohr cannot shut Diaz out at this point.
Well, after assuming Ron picks this up, which I'm pretty sure he will, he definitely needs to strike out to force Mike to show up in the 10th.
Yeah, 210 is the maximum for Ron Mohr.
222.
So if Diaz were to go strike 9 miss, if Mohr strikes out, we're looking at, there's a couple of possibilities where we can get.
Are we trying to get a tie?
Sure, why not? It's been exciting. Ron Mohr, I think he just shook his head going, shut up, guys in the booth. I don't want to tie. I want to win. I want to move on. I want to have my chance to bowl against Jerry Sikora.
So we have a tie. We have a whole game roll-off?
1 ball.
Oh, okay. I was just looking over at Jeff, and I think he was wanting the whole game.
First ball of the 10th. Tight line. And it holds.
Well, as long as he gets to 8 down lane, and that was crossing like 14, 15 at the arrows, 8 down lane, you got to get it just to right of the marker down lane. If you don't, you are in. Well, that was more like 12, 13. I said,
yeah.
But you got to get it right of the marker. If you don't, you're in trouble.
Some more getting that oil off the ball.
On this pattern, I think that's pretty crucial to make sure that you didn't have any excess tracks, oil tracks on the ball, because there was enough there to begin with.
Yep. Especially when you're trying to play the oil line in this left lane like Mohr is trying to do. Left
Looks
again.
like a repeat, but that, just a hair high. 4-pin shaking his head, so spare 200.
Well, 9 spare
is an even deuce for
strike,
Ron Mohr.
Yeah, and 9 spare strike for Diaz would give him 201 and enough to win. Diaz has a problem if he shoots 8 or less on the first ball. It's going to put a lot of pressure on him. 7 or less, he can't win. And we've seen the 7 count out of Diaz already this game.
Well, maybe it was the shutter on the camera.
Could be. And that's probably long forgotten already by Diaz. But right now, he needs a minimum of 9 on this first ball just to have a chance to win the match. Of course, a strike does it for him.
I'm pretty sure he'd rather strike.
Sikora waiting in the wings. Online.
Could be.
There it is.
Going on to the next match.
Nothing but clutch on that shot for Mike Diaz. Now, here's the thing right now. If you're Diaz, do you try another ball? What are the odds of getting out of a game in the Stepladder with another 210 game and moving on? I don't think it's that good with the scores we've seen all day.
I don't either. And if I was him, I'd be trying something else. But I'm not him, so he's going to keep with the same ball.
Well, we saw it earlier in Brentwood when he bowled Parker Bone, where everybody kind of thought, you look at Parker's ball reaction, you look at Mike's ball reaction, you thought, Parker's going to run away with this thing. And then Diaz made a late change and a little change of hand position as well and took the title away from Parker.
Yeah, I had just experimented. He had it one just to see if there was something else out there that maybe he didn't see, a pin down ball or something with a little more surface. But at the line, he sees something different than we do. I think he's going to have to walk home now because he normally rides with Ron.
So there it is. Diaz 211 to 200 over Ron Mohr. Jerry Sikora coming on for practice. So we're done with our opening match, 211 to 200. Mike Diaz over Ron Mohr.
Close match.
Close match, and it was just surprising to me at the end, Tom, that Diaz didn't try anything else, and now he's going to sit in the sidelines with another lefty coming on. I thought that would have been the driving force to try another ball.
I would have definitely thought he was going to try another ball, and maybe, again, at the foul line, we see something. He sees something different than we see back here. But I would have definitely tried a different ball, something either pinned down or something with more surface. We just got photobombed.
Hi, Dave Small. Good to see Dave, the proprietor, here as well. So.
Now, I don't know why he didn't, but, as a coach, I'm sure he would have told his kids, when you get a chance to try something different, try it.
So now we've got Jerry Sikora coming on, his first time in the stepladder in this type of event. I mean, what do you do to bring the nerves down? You remember your first time you were in a PBA60 stepladder. What do you do to bring the nerves down?
You got to breathe. That's one thing. You got to do a lot of breathing. And I don't think him being on Team USA, he's had a chance to have exposure before, and,
sure.
and he's bowled probably overseas. So I don't think that's going. And I crossed with him the whole time, the whole tournament, and you talk about a guy that repeated shots. My God, I don't believe there's going to be any nerves. He doesn't seem like a guy that's going to have the nerve problem to me.
So we'll wait for Jerry Sikora's last couple of balls of practice, and we're going to dance our way out of frame here and be ready for that second match. Jerry Sikora and Mike Diaz coming up next here from the PBA60, David Small's JAX 60 National Championship in memory of Mel Wolf. And with the announcements from John Weber, we are underway, and Sikora, the higher seed, electing to start the match on the left lane. And you got to figure this is kind of the coming out party for Jerry Sikora right now. First time he's made a stepladder in PBA national competition at any level.
Well, I crossed with Jerry for 14 games, and he did that a lot for 14 games. But, he's another guy out here. You talk about a guy that's in shape. He runs 5 miles a day. So he came out here ready to bowl, being in shape, and he wants to win. So it's totally not surprising.
Yeah, long-time resident in north central Wisconsin. Sikora took down a lot of money in events in Wisconsin over the years in the recent relocation to Lake Havasu City in Arizona. And giving him a little bit of an opportunity to try these PBA60 events. Diaz, 2-11 game 1, 6 goes, 8 stands.
Well, there's going to be a change in the lane conditioning because Jerry's using a ball with way more surface than what Mike was using. So Mike's stuff could start hooking early, and Jerry's got the speed to get the ball through the front.
Could that be advantage Diaz, though, because Diaz was having a problem getting that ball to come up last game?
It could be, but then again, could be a problem. And especially since he didn't try something different, when he had a chance to try something different.
Yeah.
I did see that he brought a different ball over because he went over to the practice lane just to stay loose as Jerry was taking his shots. And so he brought a different sphere over, that he might be throwing.
So Diaz, best finish in 2017 was at another Dave Small Center in Fort Wayne at the DeHaze Insurance Group Classic, where Diaz finished in 8th. So Mike likes himself a little action inside of Dave Small Bowling Centers. And the 6-pin. Now he's getting more hooked than he's expecting. High and high.
Yeah, so he can move right, belly it a little bit. I don't know if circling the pattern is Mike's go-to game. I think he's much better down and in player with his game. So he could move right and get a ball with a little bit more surface, get a little bit closer to that edge of the oil. Yeah, I think he'd be all right.
Could he have changed the surface on that bowling ball he's using between games? Is each round of a PBA stepladder count as a separate round of a tournament?
It's a new round.
So because of USPC rules, you can only change ball surfaces between rounds. That's a nice rule that the PBA has where each stepladder game is a different round, and you can make that change, but he elected not to do it.
And this is something you don't see a whole lot of, even a guy as strong as Jerry is, with a wrist device, especially a strong one that way.
Yeah.
But, if he's got a weak wrist, that definitely takes that plane of thought out of play. You don't have to worry about what your wrist is doing. You know it's going to get locked into a position. Now all you got to do is swing through the shot.
That's going to leave a mark. Well, technically not yet. He has to make it to put a mark on the board, but a painful 9-pin at that point for Sikora.
Well, Well, he kind of jumped out of that shot a little bit, and he didn't. He posted every shot for 14 games when I crossed with him. It was 240, 250, 240, 250. It just seemed like it was effortless for him.
And there's a spare for the man who finished in 25th this year at the USBC Super Senior Classic, the first PBA60 event of the season. Of course, 3 this season for the first time I can remember, Tom, with PBA60 events. And this being the first major in PBA60 history. $10,000 on top. And there's a couple of famous faces watching us here. Al Glick, president, chairman of Alro Steel for many years. And Jack Harbaugh, of course, great football coach at Western Kentucky, but also the father of a couple of great players out of Michigan and great coaches in the NFL as well, with John Harbaugh and Jim Harbaugh as well. So good to have some
there's some talent.
Some well-known people in the Jackson area here watching this. And from what I was told by Dave Small, the owner, that Al Glick, 92 years young, Al bowled him up until he was 89. Yeah, some well-known people in the Jackson area here watching this. And now JAX 60. And we know that Al Glick had a lot of support for youth bowling for many, many years, supported the Michigan Junior Masters and supported many other tournament organizations through Alro Steel.
It's great to have that kind of support, from the local people. And I think they got like 26 locations that I was told.
I know there's an Alro Steel by me in Wisconsin.
I think that was a different ball.
I think you're right.
I think that was a different ball. They got
that was so
like 20.
I was talking about
that,
yes. Right, by Mr. Glick and Mr. Harbaugh. I know there's an Alro Steel by me, and you see that was entirely different the last 20 feet.
Yeah, way stronger on the back end. My question again to myself is like, why didn't he grab that ball when he knew he had the match won, so he could throw it down the lane to see what was going on?
Well, cross lane for the spare. And clean.
He hit that one with a little bit more force than the last one.
Yeah. And I'm just surprised by the lack of scoring pace through the first 13 frames of this stepladder time. Really, from what we saw, how much damage could you do to an 8-to-1 pattern in 15 minutes of practice?
Build up, build up, build up.
Okay.
And it's all you can say. It's just every time they strip and re-oil out here, the pattern becomes a little bit different. Depending on the pattern, sometimes they hook more. Sometimes there's just more oil on the lane. You don't know until you bowl on it, but one thing you're going to know for sure, sometimes they hook more. They're never the same as before. Sometimes there's just more oil on the lane.
Does the job on the 7. Getting it into the pit. And the first strike this game for Diaz. But he only finds himself down currently by just 2 pins. Sikora, though, can double, extend it to 12.
Well, there's something we haven't seen. A left-hander, if I just seen that right, thumb in first, reached up and grabbed with his fingers. We see that out of Brian LeClaire.
Tommy Baker.
Tommy Jones, the great Wayne Webb, he did it. Thumb in first. First time I've seen a lefty, and unless I miss that, that's what he does.
Is it just to not bury the fingers in the ball, or is it just a whole feel thing altogether, you think, for most of those players?
Well, you got to think it's a feel thing, but, for the times I've experimented with it, obviously, since your fingers aren't buried in the ball, you're not really going to overhit it with your fingers. It's going to be, I think, maybe a cleaner release at the bottom. That's just speculation, but for everybody, it's got to be a little different. If you haven't ever tried it, give it a try. See what it does for your game.
And that seemed to be the hit that did a lot of damage this week for the players.
That half-pocket swisher hit?
Yeah. Yeah, lots of times we'd see the ball lose a little energy in that kind of hit, and they'd leave a 7-10, but when that ball's rolling strong, boy, that head pin and 5 pin can do a lot of damage to the rest of the rack.
Yeah, if you can get those pins, and believe it or not, to lay on the deck and roll around, they're going to hit something else, We talked about it, I think, last time. 10 in the pits, neat.
Yeah.
But having pins roll around, hit other pins, and make sure they're all down, that's okay, because a lot of times you can hit dead flush and you don't strike.
Diaz is trying to get back within 12.
Went to a much stronger ball, but he hasn't made the adjustment for the ball yet. It's still stronger on the back end. So he's either going to have to move a little bit right, or he's going to have to pick up his speed. But Mike's always been a soft player. He's got a soft hand at the bottom of the swing.
with his ball roll, can he move right and fluff it a bit to the left, let the lane work it a little bit more, or is that not a good option?
Well, he can.
Okay.
He'll be up the back of the ball.
Yeah.
Whether he carries or not, and again, we're talking about getting to the pocket. That's the easy part,
Okay.
getting the ball to go through the pins. He might have to tweak his wrist a little bit, kind of rotate it in a little bit to get a little bit more axis rotation to get the ball to corner. But that's if he moves in.
Might take a little extra time here with a re-rack. And can't fault him there. He gets 2 a game. Time to get the mind together a little bit because he knows right now if he doesn't start setting up the rest of the game or with the strike in the 6th, it could be a lost cause very quickly. Diaz finished 18th in this year's Super Senior Classic when he tried to defend that title in Las Vegas.
He bowls good in that place, every year, and he just whacks the devil out of him. This is pin above the ring finger too, but not as tall as the other one.
On line, and he's got
That's a much better shot.
Yeah, he's got the left lane figured out pretty well with the last 2 strikes on that lane.
It actually looked like he picked up the speed on that a little bit, and it's going down the lane a little bit quicker.
But right.
He looked like he had his footwork going a little faster.
Sikora only one previous event this year on the PBA60 Tour. That was in the Suncoast Senior U.S. Open, where he finished in 71st. And I wonder if this is going to give Sikora a little extra drive to try to bowl some more of those West Coast events next year.
I'm sure he will. He kind of got away with that one. He fell off the shot, and that's not typical of him. Especially being an ex-Team USA member. I think he was on in 96, 97. But that's big on Team USA. You post all your shots.
Yeah, you saw that front toe once the slide was almost complete. Usually you just see the heel kick first a little bit and then the toe kind of stay in place. He did the heel first and then the toe kicked out. That was
kind of raised up on the toe, yeah.
And that's just timing. That's not the approach in this case.
Don't be getting your shoulders ahead of yourself because you start getting into that swing a little bit too early. Could be all bad.
So Sikora working on 4 in a row entering the 7th frame.
That was better to the line, way better. He's got that smooth 4-step approach also.
Up by 42 at this point for Sikora, and Diaz now in mandatory strike mode as Diaz can max out at 248. Sikora looking at 280, and that gives Sikora even a room for a strike or even an open right now with this lead.
Well, Mike doesn't have any room at all. He's in a must-strike situation to put some pressure back on Jerry because right now Jerry's kind of like in cruise mode.
He asked for it to come on. He asked for it to come on, and it goes right through the nose. He got fooled on that.
Well, he gave that a little more room to the left, and when it turned the corner, it just was high flush. The shot that he made on the left lane, previous shot, was much better because it was more direct on line. Down the lane, not at the pocket. And this one he gave it away, which you got friction to the left, and when it decided to turn over, it just turned over too strong.
So Diaz, it's a must make right here. On line, it needs to get farther right though, and
yeah, you can't count on a plastic ball with this kind of volume in the middle of the lane to hook. It's pretty much going to go where you send it.
Yeah, and Diaz knows it's pretty much looking at a 4th place check right now.
Yeah, the best he can do is 216 if he strikes the rest of the way out. That's if he puts all 5 of them together.
And you see the frustration on his face, and
well,
they probably get a little easier to throw right now for Diaz because the match he knows is pretty much done. It wouldn't surprise him if he punched the last 5 after this.
Rolling the 3-pin, but that was still more down the lane. He didn't give it away as much.
Yeah. Big smile at Diaz on the way back, even though he knows this match is pretty much done. But anytime you can trip a light hit like that and get the 3-pin for lefties or 2-pin for righties.
It's just amazing to watch his roll, how far that ball actually gets down the lane before it really picks up a heavy roll. And when it does, it changes direction. His carry percentage is great, obviously, but, How do you do that?
Yeah, exactly. Sikora just rolling on here. Just needs to keep throwing shots on the lane. He's going to advance to take on Harry Sullins in that semifinal match.
Oh, solid 8. Hey, there's nothing too much for him to worry about. At this point, he's just got to fill frames.
So, yeah, solid 9-pin in the second frame, solid 8 in the 8th. If you're getting the 7s and 10s out, you know the roll's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good thing on this shot because you get the wrong angle. When I was crossing with him, it was just bad. He did leave a 7-10, and I got up. He was on the right lane, left 7-10, and it was my turn. I get up and I throw. I leave a 7-10, so he's just like, this is nice.
Here's a question for you. We see the wrist device that Sikora's using. We saw Mike Scroggins use that for many years as well on the tour. If somebody at home is watching this right now, or somebody at home is watching the tour guys right now, and they go, boy, I want to go to my pro shop. I think that'll help me out a little bit. What else should they do other than just buy the wrist guard? There's got to be other things to it than just walk in and go, hey, which one's going to work for me?
Well, hopefully your pro shop, we do in our shop, because every wrist device is designed to do something a little bit different. You, as the pro shop guy, I'm sure he knows, but let the person go out and throw a few shots with one and to see which one is comfortable and is actually getting the job done. The bigger ones like he's got, or the mechanical ones, are definitely, I think, the best. And it allows you to do more things. It helps you position your wrist forward and back, side to side. And so if you're having wrist issues, it's not a bad thing. And unfortunately, on the senior tour, as we get older, it's tough to keep your wrist in a position, you know. And some guys, I don't want to go to a wrist device. But if you have to, you have to. I mean, if you still love the game and you want to be out there, there's nothing wrong with wearing one. I mean, for the longest time, Jim Brenner, who was out here, who since has left us, he used a wrist device. A lot of the great guys, senior players, have used wrist devices on the PBA60. Kenny Parks, who won a Masters and won several times, wrist device. Another gentleman, Dale Traber, who's got 50 PBA titles and 2 major titles in the Masters, wears a wrist device. So there's no shame in wearing one. If you got to wear one, wear one.
Can I just slap one on after a pro shop guy gets one to me and just start sticking my hand in the ball, get out there and bowl, or should I?
Well, you need to have him adjusted. Hopefully your pro shop guy goes out with you and adjusts it, gets it on right, so that when you throw, you know what it's supposed to be doing. And you can explain, especially on the mechanical ones, you got to explain how it works. You just can't throw that. It'd be like throwing you in a jet and say, here, take off and go for it. It doesn't work that way because there's a 7-10.
That was kind of okay, I'll get up there, get out of the way. They know the match is done. So,
oh, look at that. Split, you know.
Yeah. So we'll let these players finish up this match, and we'll give you a preview of Sikora versus Sullins coming up next year as the PBA60 David Small's JAX 60 National Championship in memory of Mel Wolf rolls on here on FloBowling. So we have our second match complete. Jerry Sikora, convincing victory over Mike Diaz. Sikora's got the whole left side to himself the rest of the way out. Got to be a bit of advantage for him.
I would think it'd have to be a great advantage because he's got a great line to the pocket right now. He's using totally a different ball than Mike Diaz did, and he's just still playing down and in, and he's got the ability to move to the right and open up the lane a little bit. And we've already had Ron Mohr on the right side, so he's kind of tore up the right a little bit, and now we got Harry Sullins coming in. Total different roll because he'll kind of spin it through the front and is going to loop it out a little bit more. So it's going to be a little interesting since on this reel, if there's more oil down the lane, and it's going to affect with Harry. But we'll find out.
Well, of course, along with that, because it's before the semifinal match, Brian Voss, our top seed, gets to come on, see the lanes have transitioned a bit, and he's going to get some shadow balls too. It can be pretty interesting getting into this semifinal game because Voss can change the lanes a bit still with his referee.
Well, he can. What Voss can do, he doesn't have 25 titles for not being able to do tricks. if the lanes become a little bit squirrely, he has the ability and the speed to move right and just kind of play that shim line and really pipe it up. He'll use the ball that's got some surface, move to the right, and just come right up the back of the ball and keep the ball on line. So I don't think the lanes are going to be such a problem. It's just who's going to be facing him.
Yeah, I just got a couple of shots in the monitor from Brian Voss, and they were flush strikes. So he's going to be the man to beat. I mean, he tore it up all afternoon long, and there was not much doubt that Voss was going to be our top seed coming in.
He shot 300. Harry coming on. Harry shot 300. And the scores were high. I think the next couple matches are going to be kind of a slugfest, and it's just a matter of carry. If somebody makes a mental mistake, it's going to be all over.
Yeah, who's going to take home the first PBA60 major title in history? We've got 2 more matches to determine that. Coming up next, Sikora and Sullins with Voss waiting in the wings for that championship match. So it's time for the semifinal match. Sikora Sullins. Winner takes on Voss here at the PBA 60. David Small's JAX 60 National Championship in memory of Mel Wolf. I am Phil Breiler, with me again, Tom Carter, and we have Sikora starting on the left lane. And all off balance on that shot. Still got it to carry.
Well, he started on the left lane last game too, and he won, so I don't think this is going to be a problem. But I did see Voss come over, and he was playing a bunch of different lines, just checking out what's out there, which is the way a Hall of Famer does it.
Right.
Yeah, he's playing all over, and he's going to see what's giving him the best look.
And he's going to get more practice when he comes on after this match. And you see here, we joke around during qualifying match play today about Harry being the maybe millionaire, but long-time career, and he's made a lot of money at it. And he's a guy that's not going to back down from a challenge in this stepladder.
Well, Harry shot 300 earlier, and he used the same ball playing just kind of like that little spin biscuit thing that he does right through the front, gets it through the front, and that ball stores enough energy when he hits the dry to make the turn.
Now we see Harry with a wrist device as well, but it's not as different pieces as we see with Sikora's.
It's not as complicated. This is basically just more for support. The one that Jerry is using, he can actually cup your wrist or break it back or tilt it left and right, so it's way more mechanical. Wrist device like this is just more for support, and he got that on the lane early and never got it to the right, and that ball went straight through the face.
And I think he's actually kind of puzzled by that, because I thought he was expecting length on that shot, and there was 0 length on that shot.
Well, he might have got it to the right a little early, so he hit that friction, and when you get it to the right too soon on this pattern, kind of like a house shot pattern, there's so much friction to the right. If you miss right, you can actually go through the nose, and that's what happened here.
I read everything on Sullins' biography, but we only have 2 games left in the stepladder.
That was probably not technically the right way to pick that up on the 3-6-10, but he dominoed him out. He got the carry. That's a good thing. A lot of times when you do that, you're going to throw the 6 right around the 10, or you can just chop the 3 right off.
I'm waiting for Harry after he's done bowling tonight to hand Al Glick an autographed Harry Sullins player card. I think it's bound to happen. Sikora. Stepping up. This is only his 9th career PBA 50 or 60 event. That's a pretty good showing to make a stepladder under all this pressure of a major.
Well, he's bowling like he's been here before, so I don't know about pressure. You just got to worry about carry right now.
Why are we seeing so many 6 pins out of the 2 lefties when they are leaving something?
Ball's just starting to come in a little bit high. It's right there as you see it. That is almost ungodly high flush, and the higher the ball come in the pocket, other than splitting, it's probably going to leave a 6 pin. He's throwing a pretty aggressive ball. That's a Code X, and it's got some surface on it. You can see the oil rings around the ball. Yep. We've got some volume out there.
All even after 2 frames, just want to remind everybody that this is not the end of PBA 60 coverage here in 2019. Wednesday afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, we start coverage of the PBA 60 Dick Weber Championship from Pro Bowl West in Fort Wayne, Indiana, wrapping up the season at another Dave Small Fun Time Center. And once again, I want to thank Dave Small and all of his staff here at JAX 60 this week. Josh Solomon, Brady Collop, and boy, everybody's just been nothing but super friendly to everybody here.
Yeah, because when we get done with the show, what do you do on your anniversary? You do a telecast.
That's right. It's your 24th anniversary. You and Linda Carter today. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you. And
I almost forgot about that.
And what do bowlers do? We spend it in a bowling center.
Right.
That's what bowling is.
You guys give each other, what, a bowling ball for an anniversary gift?
That's it.
Okay. That's not a bad thing. I would have thought maybe change it up this year to a 3-ball roller bag or something.
I said, I'm sorry I didn't get you a card. And she goes, shocker. You've never got me a card.
Oh, 10 down for Sullins. This match even after 3. What is the 24th anniversary wedding gift, I wonder? Because, like, first is paper and all the other stuff. Is there one specifically for 24? Because next year's silver.
Bowling ball.
It is a bowling ball, okay. I thought maybe it was a USB-C plaque for a $2.99 game or something.
Yeah, it could be.
Could be.
Maybe a new bowling bag.
Well, you got a pro shop right in the mobile home, don't you? You just drill it up for right when we're done tonight.
Sure.
Get a little practice in.
I'll get right on that one.
Sullins trying to hop on it again, and that high flush.
Yeah, that was way high flush. It looked like he just absolutely came around that one and threw it. You watch his hand. He goes totally around the side of that ball, and that's where you kind of get that spin. We talked about Mike Diaz coming up the back of the ball, and you got Harry doing just the opposite, going totally around the side of the ball.
Wow. Colors of Sikora's bowling ball kind of remind me of the colors of the 24th anniversary traditional gift, which is an opal.
An opal? You looked that up.
I looked it up really quick. Yes, I did. I had to. I got to know what you got to run out and get Linda once we're done here.
See, what do we got to do? We got to run out and pack up the motorhome and get ready for the next place, because we got to go northeast about 80 miles to have an air conditioner fixed, then go down to Fort Wayne.
You've taken the grand tour of the U.S. this year. There is no doubt about it.
Well, if the motorhome's not broke, I'm broke. So,
And that's why we have you here in the FloBowling booth at a reduced rate.
Yes, exactly. Because, my knees don't last. Hey, they did pretty good this week. So, hopefully next week will even be better. I just missed the show last year in Fort Wayne. So, hopefully this year will be better.
Sikora, all even, 5th frame. On line, on target, 10 back. Beautiful for Sikora.
He's starting out just like he did last game, strike, spare, 3-bagger. But Harry has answered the call with strike, spare, double.
And that's a little confident walk, a little more confidence we see in the walk now for Sikora than we saw in the match against Diaz.
Well, I think he knows he's got a pretty good shot to the pocket, and it's just a matter of him keeping his mind clear and executing, which is sometimes easier said than done.
Sullins in the beverage frame. On line, 10 back as well.
He was kind of stepping that out because that looked like that was going to be just a hair high, and he ended up getting him. That's the amazing part of this game. There's so many ways to hit the pocket and still carry, and that's the hard part of this. When you think you throw it great and you don't strike, and when you think you throw it like absolute garbage and you do strike, it messes with your head.
Sullins finished 18th in this year's Super Senior Classic. Best finish on the PBA60 season this year was back in Hammond a couple of weeks ago at the South Shore Open. 3rd place for Sullins.
Harry throwing that one way better. He's getting a little confidence. He's got something going now. Harry's tough. Did he just show his muscle there?
He pulled the shirt sleeve up and he flexed, and there's more people shaking their heads at that than now they're laughing. I think Harry was trying to get a laugh out of everybody, and more people were just shaking their heads at first.
Going, what did he just do?
Right. And how white is that bicep? That bicep hasn't seen any sun. This guy gets to see some sun in Lake Havasu, Arizona. And he's looking to see another strike on the scoreboard to stay even. And
that was inside from the get-go.
It almost looked like he cut his follow-through off for something. Like he was losing the ball off his hand or something. It just didn't look as fluid all the way up.
No, and it looked like we don't have the speed up, but
sure,
it looked like he really threw that one a lot slower than what he's been throwing.
Yeah, it looks like about 14.8. He's been in the 15s.
Yeah, he's been way firmer.
Whoa. Well,
nice conversion.
You know what happened there? I thought we were on another pattern. Sorry, I forgot we were on the Chris Paul where those outside boards hook.
Yeah, and it came back. I thought he missed it, but
once again, I mean, you have to keep reminding yourself of that every time you step up for a spare. Is that this is not a normal PBA 50 or 60 tour pattern.
No, and you can get away with that. On some of our patterns with the oil outside, he just sent it that far out. That ball had no chance of coming back. And normally, to pick up the 2-7, that's not the way you'd attack it anyway. You kind of want the ball to hit the 2 and deflect into the 7, not try to hook into it.
You know, it was kind of funny earlier in the week. Ron Mohr, he was struggling a little bit after one game, and I was walking by him. He was talking to his ball rep, Doug Kent. And he goes, I have to think about not striking in order to strike because of the difference of mindset on this Chris Paul pattern.
Yeah, you know, you work so hard at trying to just really splice boards out here because our patterns are so flat. And you run into this where your area is much greater, and trying to splice boards sometimes doesn't work. I mean, you just got to get it out there in the zone, you know. And literally it is an area. You just get it in the right area. It's not like you have to hit that specific board.
Harry, a USBC Hall of Famer, he was inducted into that Hall of Fame in 2016. And that's coming flush. Wow, I thought that was going to be flush, and it just backed off last second.
So what do you think now? So why'd that happen?
It just rolled out like 4 feet before the pocket. Looked strong, and then
it just never made the turn.
Yeah.
It was like for Harry with that little spin thing, it was almost like he needed to hit more friction down lane, and he never got it far enough right to get the ball to actually hook back. And that is an error and mistake, especially when you got a lefty that seems to be pretty much locked in.
So you're saying there is that on this pattern, the 7-10 is something you have to prevent. It's not just a bad break.
Right. I think it's easy on this pattern to get a 7-10. I mean, I've seen lots of them over the qualifying of 14 games and then match play for the last 2 days.
Well, that leaves Sullins in arrears by 2 pins with just 3 frames remaining in the semifinal match. Brian Voss waiting in the wings for the winner.
I think Voss is going to be tough to beat on this because he's going to play the lanes totally different than everybody else, and Harry leaving a 10 pin. So now the question is, since he was starting the ball a little bit farther left, has he carried a little bit of oil, since there's so much of that oil, you know, to that mid lane to where his ball is just pushing a little bit more down the lane? Unfortunately, you only got 10 frames, and you don't have a lot of time to think about it. You got to make an adjustment.
Must spare here for Sullins, because otherwise Sikora can run away with it.
Harry doesn't waste much time when he shoots spares. He gets up there, takes aim, and fires, which is a good thing. You can study long at spares, and then you study wrong. You think, well, don't do this, don't do that. Wrong way to think.
Sikora can go up by 12 with a strike here. If he piles on in the 9th frame, goes up by 22, that's almost going to be impossible for Sullins to come back from.
Well, you know, on Team USA, I think they definitely work on your mental game. They teach you to slow everything down and breathe. But I think Jerry's starting to feel some of the pressure now because he wants to get to that title match.
8th frame, looking for the double. That head pin had to fight through the 4 pin and shove the 4 into the 7. That was not a lazy narwhal on that shot.
No, and it almost looked like it was going to be really ugly when it first hit the pins because there.
Look at the work of that narwhal right there. Spears through the 4, takes the 7 down.
Yeah, I think he stared it down. He's backing up, looking at it. Look, there's a chance, and yeah, I got it.
And this is the huge shot of the day now for Sikora. Get the lead out to 22.
Much better shot. Much better. He was just dead solid to the line, went through that. He just glided to the line on that. He didn't look rushed. That's a good thing. Now, Harry's going.
You saw the shake of the head.
Well, you know why Harry's shaking his head? Because he carried that 7 pin, and Harry's going, oh, you got to break now. What do I got to do? And he has to strike out now. Possible 236 if he goes off the sheet.
The thing is, Sikora right now can go 9 spare strike in the 10th and have 237. So Sullins must punch, as you said, Tom, to put any pressure on Jerry Sikora.
Harry, he threw that one pretty darn good. I mean, he posted the shot and stuck with it.
And that ball, I mean, easily 18th board entering the pocket where it was about 16th board when he left that pocket 7-10.
Yeah, that ball never stopped. He actually got that ball to the friction spot. It made it through there. Almost like he split the 8-9. Harry throwing a pin down ball, and everybody else has been throwing pin up stuff. So Harry's throwing something totally different as far as layout goes than anybody else that's on the show.
And even at the age of 60 last year, or pardon me, 2 years ago.
Yeah, speaking of 60, we got what? Walter Ray turning 60. Like, we need him in the Super Seniors. Really?
Yep. Harry finished in 3rd place at the Suncoast Senior U.S. Open in 2017. He was taken out by the eventual champion, Michael Haugen Jr., in that semifinal match.
We got another guy turning 60, Warren Ailes, that makes shows. So the PBA60 is getting tougher and tougher.
Yep. And Harry's got a major in his PBA 50 title career as well. He took down the 2009 PBA Senior World Championship.
I remember that.
And
watching that.
Would that have been in this building as well? There was one year that the national championship was held here when Johnny won in 2008. That's what that was. Oh, that seemed to hook at his toes.
Oh, that was inside from the get-go. It looked like he missed left, but the ball fell back and then it hooked again. Is that possible?
Yeah. Watch when the ball hit. It looked like it jumped like 2 boards to the left and then just sat in the oil.
And that was light, but he got the messenger off the wall.
No, it's going to force Sikora to get a mark in the 10th frame.
Harry's coming up with all these moves all of a sudden. Where'd all these moves come from?
Yeah, he's drawn back the bowstring on that one.
Terry Metzger, are you teaching him all these moves?
That was like a dab that missed. He was trying to do the dab, but he was way too low.
You guys practicing your dance moves in your motorhome? Is that what it is?
And 9 count to fill for Sullins, but it doesn't matter right now. It's a mark for Sikora.
Jerry's really just got to take his time.
Yep. 9 spare 9's a winner for Sikora at 236.
Don't change the process. Don't do anything different. Same thing you've been doing. Breathe. Keep your heart rate down. Just make the shot.
And he had to do this last match against Diaz. He needed a good ball, first ball in the 10th frame to get out of that match, and he did. For the 227, the 190 win.
It looked like a pretty good shot off his hand.
Came high, though.
Yep.
And, that's 8. He has to spare and strike to win by a pin. That's a little bit of a game changer.
Now we have the possibility of a tie.
Or Sikora can back out of the win.
Oh, Lord. That looked like he missed it. Thank God he was throwing something that had some friction on it. If that would have been plastic, that was 1 count.
I understand you try to take a little less time to not let the nerves build up, but holy cow, that was close.
That was, holy cow, I just missed it. Well, if he had the 10, he'd have got that.
No, a strike's a win, a 9's a tie, 8 or less, Sikora's going home. Pretty simple right now, math-wise.
He just looked like he took a little bit longer on that last setup before he took off. Don't be standing there forever. You know what you got to do.
A little better on line. And he's going home.
8 count. He loses. Unbelievable.
Harry Sullins.
Harry did the trick. He did what he had to do. He threw a double. Unbelievable.
Is going to go on and face Brian Voss in the championship match. Sikora's best showing to this point in his PBA 50 or 60 career. And we're going to let Brian Voss come on and get some practice here at the PBA 60. David Small's JAX 60 National Championship in memory of Mel Wolfe. So Jerry Sikora falls to the wayside with a couple of errant shots in the 10th frame. And surprise, surprise, Harry Sullins is in this championship match against Brian Voss. And who's going to be your favorite right now in this match?
I got to go with Voss.
Yeah.
I got to go with Voss. I can't believe, well, Jerry being in a chance to go for the title, I think he got nervous. I think the pressure kind of got to him a little bit his first time there.
What can Harry do to make the small adjustments he needs to? Because it's not large adjustments that Harry needs to keep competitive. That pocket 7-10 small adjustment, he was flush the next game. What do you do to stay ahead of this Chris Paul pattern? Because it's just that wall of oil in the middle of the lane.
One thing you can't do is get too far left because you're too much into the puddle, and the ball is never going to react on the back end. At least, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It will react. Whether you carry or not, that's the other question.
So we've got just a couple more practice shots here for Brian Voss, and we're going to be back with that championship match.
Smart one over here, that Tom Cotte.
Well, a man that's in the PBA and USBC Hall of Fames against a man in the USBC Hall of Fame, a player that bowls every single freaking event out here that he can, versus a guy that picks and chooses his events. And the guy that picks and chooses, you got to figure, is a little bit of the favorite on this event. But we know Harry, he loves being called the underdog, and he loves proving people wrong.
And he did it this last match. I mean, he needed to do what he did. He had to strike out. He had to throw the last three, one in the ninth, double in the 10th, to force Jerry to come to the plate. And Jerry came to the plate. And unfortunately, I think the nerves got to him a little bit, and he was that close to bowling for a title. And he just got a little quick.
I've got a feeling that 250 may not be enough to win this game.
Well, I think you could be very, very right. If Brian gets as lined up as he's been all day, this could be like 300 to 279 or 279 tie like we had in Trenton, New Jersey.
That is the most shine I've seen on a bowling ball used by a player in the Stepladder to this point.
Well, it's a surface ball, but he's obviously – that could be just lane shine, but it looks like he's put a little bit of a coat of wax to it. And that might be because he's going to play farther to the right, like we said earlier, and I think he's going to just try to keep the ball on line.
Brian Voss hasn't won yet this season on the PBA60 Tour, but he also hasn't bowled that many events.
Brian just comes out kind of unexpectedly hit and miss from here to there. You never know when he's going to bowl.
Yep. Just recently relocated to Centennial, Colorado. So in the middle of a move. That's what he's got for his hometown currently.
He was
in Moore's. Yeah,
he was in Mooresville, coaching down in Mooresville
for a couple of years, and recently relocated. Got that info in his bio. And once again, he's won 25 times on the Go Bowling PBA Tour.
He's running them out because I think he thought that was in a little bit, and he played that cliff, and the ball held.
And there is Voss, and they don't call him the poster boy for anything. You could put that run out on a poster right there and sold a few to put on bedroom walls of adoring fans. There's still a few of them around for Brian Voss, no doubt about it.
He's, 61 years old?
Yes, indeed.
And he looks like he's 50. You know, he's in pretty good shape. So
that 5 went real late for Sullins.
There's where it happened again.
Yep.
You know, he's got to hit the friction with that little spin thing that he does. If he doesn't get it enough in the friction, that ball just doesn't want to make the corner. And with Brian playing so close to the edge of the oil, could be carrying a little bit of that down the lane.
Yeah.
You know, just changing that break point just a touch.
Well, you know Sullins is going to gun for it right now.
Well, he's got to.
Lucky bounce.
I think earlier this week, didn't Steve Jarris pick up 710?
During the PBA60 event here, Jarris did convert the 710.
That boy can throw it hard. Holy cow.
And now Sullins in a deep early hole against a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't think it's the place you want to be when Brian looks as lined up as – you got Harry talking to himself because Brian's lined up. So it's just a matter of him repeating shots and not getting ahead of himself.
That's left.
That was left to target.
Wow, he did the same thing Voss did. Okay, if Voss is going to go left, I'm going to go on top of him. You see right there.
That was way left of where he's been playing.
And
now, was that he didn't
That
even
wasn't
like the
intentional.
shot.
Yeah, that wasn't intentional. They've just developed such a push area because of the huge concentration in the middle of that pattern.
8-1. It might not sound well. Most league shots are probably 12, 13 to 1. Maybe some of them 15 to 1. But for us out here, 8-1 is a grundle. It's just a boatload.
Well, Brian Voss, definitely we know Voss is a member of the PBA Millionaires Club. Actually make it $2.5 million for career earnings for Mr. Voss. To go with his 2 PBA 50 titles, 1 regional PBA 50 title, and those 25 Go Bowling PBA Tour titles.
Yep. Well, he not only duplicated shots, he duplicated run-out moves.
Tell you what, you watch those first 3 shots, and they have just been no doubt when they entered the 1-3 that all 10 were going straight into the pit.
He's playing right next to that cliff. It's just, we've talked about, setups and things before, and you watch Brian, the hand's still moving when he's in play, just starting his approach. Same thing that Duke does, just to keep your swing loose.
And there you see, after becoming Player of the Year in 1988, Voss inducted in the PBA Hall of Fame in 1994. And he's going to at least match his best finish in a PBA 50 or 60 Tour Major, as he finished in 2nd place in the 2009 Senior U.S. Open when he was Rookie of the Year on the PBA 50 Tour. And he bowled a couple events in 2008 on the PBA 50 Tour and did not do very well, apparently.
I'm hoping my memory serves me right. We bowled here in 2008 when Mel Wolf was still alive and had a great tournament. And my wife was still she was a member of the PBA 50. She bowled. She cashed and made it in this tournament. And I'm not mistaken, Brian Voss, this was his first tournament as a PBA 50 player. And he didn't cash. And now he's bowling for the title.
And you mentioned Mel Wolf, his wife Ann and son Barry, both here watching this championship match, and they'll be part of the check and trophy presentation once we are done with this championship match. And it was a nice gesture the PBA, Dave Small, Johnny Petraglia, and Josh Solomon did on Saturday night after the opening day of this tournament, as Mel Wolf actually won on the PBA Senior Tour in Canada back in 1994, and they presented Mel's banner to Ann and Barry.
Mel was just a prince of a guy. We came up here the one year, we went out, I think, to the country club, and they had some comedians there and a dinner, and he just put on such a great show and a host. I remember, it's kind of funny, he always was for hospice, I believe, his benefit. And, anytime you shoot 300 in the PBA, you get an extra $100 for it. So I had shot 300 in the tournament, and I was the first one they'd called up to hand the check to. And
he got you with that trick too then. Okay.
Yeah, so I gave it back to Mel as a donation, and all the other guys that shot 300, which I think there were 12 of them in that tournament, all turned in their checks.
Yeah, there was one year Johnny Petraglia shot 2 300s, and Mel called Johnny up first to really put the pressure on everybody. Looking to put the pressure on Sullins as Voss, looking for his 5th strike in a row, and just flush again.
That was a little bit farther right, but if you notice his ball roll, he doesn't have a lot of axis rotation going from right to left.
Yeah.
I mean, he's more forward, and the ball's just staying on line, so you're not seeing it jump on the back end.
Look at this great shot again by Brian Voss.
It's just rolling up the lane, and it just kind of migrates to the pocket. It emerges. He's not trying to boom it.
Right now, Voss, 32-pin advantage, looking to make it 42 with another strike here in the 6th frame. You see him talking to himself, a little reaffirmation about what he has to do before he steps on that approach.
And that's a big thing, self-talk. I mean, you've got to believe in yourself out there, and you got to say the right things. Things that I can't and I won't should never ever enter your head.
Oh, my.
Yeah. He's locked. You said it was going to be a high-scoring match, and that's going to be something of an understatement, I believe.
Watch that 6-pin come off the sideboard and do a full body block into the 10-pin. That 6-pin was full 90-degree.
Yeah, just took it out.
Horizontal before it took it out. That's where you know that ball is rolling well. You're getting those pins to go low early and hit each other down.
Voss has always been fairly animated, especially when he gets on a roll, and he's going to get, I think, even more animated with the next 4 frames.
Sullins in mandatory strike mode. No other way to say it. Down 42.
Harry!
And Harry right back in the pocket.
When Harry does what he just did there, and to me is really post the shot and get through it at the bottom of the swing, it's almost guaranteed strike. But sometimes he gets quick and he gets around it, kind of raises up on it, and then it's bad juju.
Harry Sullins finished second in the 2016 Senior U.S. Open, his best finish in a major on the PBA60 Tour in the last 10 years. Looking to add a major on the PBA60 Tour, but he's got a long way to go and a short time to get there with Voss in the way.
Come on!
Oh, he got away with that. He jumped out of the shot, I think, a little bit too soon.
That was probably 4 left of that shot we saw to him in the first frame on that lane.
Every bit of. He threw that and fell to the right, and it made it back, but it wasn't near as pure as the shot he just had on the right lane.
And you know, one good thing for Voss right now is he can't back off. He can't let anything down because he knows he makes one mistake here, he could let Harry right back into this match.
Even though Harry opened the second frame, he's still shooting 268 if he goes off the sheet. I mean, at worst, Brian Dine spare and sheet 279, but he can't have 2 hiccups.
Right. Voss, you see right there, taking an extra second, making sure that thumb is fit well inside that ball.
Is just constantly moving.
He's hit 17th board every time going through that pocket on those first 7 shots.
He's at like 13 out to 7-8, and the ball. And we're looking, you know, at 5-6 boards. He's kind of keeping it right in the tube. He's not really getting to the dry, and he's playing the edge of the shim, and just enough, you know. He's not doing anything fancy, and that's the big thing. You don't have to.
Well, $10,000 on top for the winner of this championship match, and once again, any championship round telecast on FloBowling. The PBA and FloBowling combined to add an extra $1,000 bonus to a bowler shooting a 300 during the live stream championship rounds.
We ought to get to Dave Small. A couple shows ago, he said he had matched that. You know,
we'll have to see if we can drag him in. Right now, we got to worry about getting a few more strikes. And that was the first ball that really went a little long on Voss, but he got it to work.
Well, it's getting a little bit closer to crunch time.
Brian Voss, 56 career perfect games in his PBA career. One of those earlier today during match play.
It's amazing how good the greats are without practicing a whole lot. You know, not bowling that many tournaments. I mean, when you've got the basic skills down and their ability, whether it's taught, learned, or God-given, they just seem to repeat.
And that's a man with enough talent as well. He's just 1 ball short on the talent right now to this point in this game.
Now, that ball was inside farther than the previous shot on the left lane, so either we're playing area or he sees something different than we see up here.
Or maybe he just fell back. I hate to say league bowler mentality, but maybe fall back to the league bowler
and that's
mentality.
not a bad mentality to have on this shot. You know,
Right.
you talked about it earlier. You know, it's not like you have to split boards.
Sullins still looking for a possible 268. He's not out of it yet, but he is if he doesn't strike on this shot. 9th frame.
A little bit inside.
And the 6 does the job on the 10.
Oh, now Harry's getting animated. Harry was, it looked like it was a little bit inside. He was closer to 15 at the arrows. Just got it outside the marker.
And take a look at Harry in the way, but take a look at Brian Voss right now. You know, we don't see him back. Yeah, we see him back there. Brian just, all right, you did your thing. I'm going to answer you.
He's just looking for a clean side of the towel right now.
He's just like, okay, I'm coming up and doing my thing. You do whatever you want right now. I'm in the lead.
Right.
It's all in my hands.
Well, a strike here, 9 anything.
Not 9 anything. Anything could lead to a loss. 'Cause that's
Well, he's got to
267.
pick it up.
Right.
I said strike in the 9th.
Yes.
9
Yes.
in the 10th.
Wow.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
We saw Ron Mohr earlier this year in New Jersey throw the front 9 and lose the title. We could see Brian Voss throw the front 8 here and lose the title in a major on the
Yeah, because
PBA60.
he just opened the door. The best he can do now is 267. Harry strike out for 268.
And this is an impossible spare, so mark him down for 265 for the max because most likely only getting 2 on this.
Oh!
Got the spin, but
Yeah, 265. I said 68.
let's take a look at that first ball once again because
That was inside
yep,
from where he'd been playing.
and the hard left turn.
Well, I shouldn't say it was outside of where he'd been playing. He got it right of the. He was more on top of the third arrow. He was closer to 10 on that, and it's just too much friction. Turned the corner.
And Harry Sullins is proof right now of why you never give up after a bad break in a one-game match.
You never give up, period, until you're mathematically out of it. And then you don't give up because you don't learn anything by giving up.
Full credit to Tom Carter on that one. Please put that on your refrigerators for your kids when they see it tomorrow morning before they go to school.
Come on, Brian.
And right back in the pocket.
Well, he really needs these next 2.
Yep. It's just one of those points in times during a match that we can just let the ball do the talking because the pins are telling everything right now.
It just all depends on how well Harry reacts to the pressure. I mean, Harry knows he's got to step up the plate and strike in the 10th.
And now he can be forced to strike twice if Voss strikes on this shot. You don't get to be a PBA Hall of Famer without closing out matches for titles. And he does it right there. Has now made Sullins have to double in the 10th frame. And you got to say, count here still huge for Voss because Harry can throw a 7 count all of a sudden on a fill ball, and then we could have a tie if Harry gets the first 2. Count here huge for Voss. Well, I like a tie for the excitement. I don't play favorites here in the booth, but excitement's always a great story.
I love ties because you never know how that's going to play out. Oh, he got that farther right. What is going on there? Oh, he got that was just an absolute errant shot right there.
He's lucky to get 9 out of that for 264.
I thought that was a 6 count at max.
And it's all up to Harry Sullins now. Harry Sullins looking for his first PBA 60 title, looking for his first time in the winner's circle out here since 2011. 8 years since someone's handed Harry the winner's trophy and the winner's check.
A little extra pop right there. Oh, is that in?
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh,
Not your fault, Harry.
not your fault. That was inside of 15 and like 11, and that you talk about playing the shim. That was right next to it.
And you see right there, Harry right back to business. No running out shots. No playing to the crowd. This is all business,
He
Harry.
has to have this one. We're down to win or lose right now.
The big exhale, the preset on the shot, and the must strike.
Must strike situation. I think he got it. He got it.
Oh,
my Lord.
and Harry is down.
Oh.
And the wrap 10 is going to keep Harry Sullins out of the winner's circle. And Brian Voss is your champion here.
Unbelievable. It was a great shot. It looked like the same shot he just threw.
And Voss a mixture of disbelief and pride that he clutched himself out in the 10th frame.
Unbelievably,
that
that
shot,
shot didn't strike. It looked like he repeated it.
Well, I'm going to get an interview with Brian Voss. Tom, thanks for joining us here again in the booth, and we'll see you in Fort Wayne.
I will be in Fort Wayne. I got to go have a anniversary party.
Have fun.